So as far as trips, there's quite a few different trips that I like to do. Starting out, you can do, head level right there. You can do around head level right here. You can also mess with a trip on the corner of this box right here. I also like to put one anywhere like along where this box is right here, like along that wall. Here and anywhere down here on the ramp. And depending on how the team plays, you could also put one like along these boxes right here. So Cypher can pretty much lock down this site. On the earlier rounds, I'll sort of play like back here and, watch for pushes and play off my trips. When they hit those, you swing, spray, whatever. You really just want to play, like as a Sentinel in general, you want to play pretty passive. As far as cams, you could put one opening right there just to get early info, like, watch crosses. I also like to put my cam up here or up here. You have eyes on sight. You have eyes on hell, on default. You can see graffiti, things like that. If you put one, if you put your cam on
that's
this bar
graffiti,
here,
by the way, for those who aren't unaware.
Yeah, you can turn it just enough to look down short and get info, and you can also hear heavy pushes long. So C setups, C is a more open sight. That's the default trip right there. Right here, you could also get away with a trip here, depending on where you actually play, or you could place one in garage right here. I've seen a couple of tripwires placed like on the floor vertically like that.
Okay.
But I won't say that's extremely effective because there's ways you could get around it if you don't place it perfectly. So use that one sparingly. If you feel like attempting it, go ahead. As far as cages, like I said, you really just want to play with cages in tandem with your tripwires. It's okay to lose your cam early in the round as long as you get that initial info, right? So cam spots like this, so you can see down long and see them peek.
Oh wow,
Let
that's
them destroy
trippy. My cam's like inside your cam.
Let them destroy the cam and call out their long and just hold angles. Do the same. I think I've seen one like actually in this what's it called? In the horn. Default like doorways, as long as they're like head level or crouch level, I guess. If they don't have a raise, this is a decent one. I don't necessarily play the trips like this close.
Okay.
Because especially for like this wide ass what's it called? Sage is gonna like wall or Viper or Phoenix or whatever.
Yeah.
So they have time to sort of slow walk and check these like low hanging.
And they probably don't want to make sound either.
Right. I don't necessarily do those all the time. I like to capitalize trips here and here.
For the default plant spot.
Yeah. Players are going to push past pillar to take back sight because this is the power position. And they're also going to try and push onto sight to get plant, obviously.
Do you think that there might be an aggression factor based off of the fact that if the attackers get to this part of the map, they're going to think, oh, okay, cool, we got sight control, fucking whatever. Oh, shit. Like, you think that's more likely?
Pretty much. You can, like, as an attacker, as long as your plant spot, your default plant spot is here, you really don't have to push past this box. Because you can have a teammate play back here and watching, rafter or the push past pillar, right? You can have a teammate play here and watching the CT, right? At a certain point, they have to swing to get this plant. So if you have somebody watching here, watching CT, and somebody back sight watching the rest of sight, you can get an easy plant there as an attacker. You place, those trips right here. You can play pretty aggro, right? Sometimes I'll play here and wait for those trips to be propped. I'll play like right here.
Okay.
And crouch.
Yeah.
And I'll place like a cage right there, and I'll place a cage like in the middle right there.
Like that.
And, yeah. If you hear footsteps like heavy, like they're just gonna push, they're gonna W key in. You could pop this cage early and sort of swing and just wait. Like just pop your cage close to you and swing, and you'll see just how effective it is.
Cage triggered.
Okay, you might need to be a better shot, but you get the idea.
I mean, when you're caged like that, like when you're concealed, like you were just now, you
Yeah.
can miss a few shots. Like they're not going to know exactly how to counter that.
I
They're
guess
gonna
that's
be
true.
trying
Yeah,
to fire at
unless
you.
they have like shroud reactions and they can like triangulate the angle from which the tracers are
Yeah.
coming in like 0.02 seconds. Yeah, you can afford to miss a couple times.
So those trips were for like default sight pushes, right? Sometimes you'll get the weirdos that rather than pushing past pillar to take sight, they'll just go here, right? If you get those weirdos in game, just a tripwire. They're gonna W key because there's angles, you know, rafters in heaven, and you could swing from here. So they're not gonna worry about shooting that trip.
It's me.
If they do,
I'm that weirdo.
let's say the attackers are very mid heavy, right? You can sometimes put a trip here to sort of help your teammates hold mail. I tend to put a trip here, right? Because this covers a lot of different, like, what's it called?
Oh yeah, and if the guy drops, he can get yo-yoed, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I see. Yeah, there's not a lot to do. You really can't do anything there. Just gonna die.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah, and like I said about cages, just play them in tandem. For tripwires, you could put one right here if you don't want to try and mess with like a more complex one.
Okay.
But you can set one like there's like an angle on the stack in front of me that'll go to the wall over here, and it's harder for them to actually shoot it.
That's
There you
weird. Okay. Like that?
Yeah. Cam spots usually along this wall is really good because you can see in the main and you can also see in the tree. You can maybe also get away with trips right here in case they want to try and push to like cubby or, you know, backside over here. It's just a matter of knowing how the attackers are going to push and take a sight. If the attackers are pretty mid heavy and they want to attack cat, you could put one right here, because in this spot right here, they're going to be too focused trying to swing and cover all these angles that they're not going to really check that trip unless they're actually slow walking because they have presence on B, right? Also, hell is a really good position because you could watch them push to the button, right?
Yeah.
If you play right here and just, you know, watch the cross, because they're gonna beeline for that door for sight control. So if you play right here, those are easy picks. You could put one on that sign right there, and you can, if you look down, you can see like their feet in main, and you can also watch them, you know, push on the site. You can see a little bit into logs. You can watch them push on to down lane. You can even see a little bit into backside of B. When I first started playing Cypher, I also put one on that lamppost right there.
Oh, I got it. Can you talk about the whole like jumping thing, because I think that a lot of people are going to be lost on that if we don't explain it.
Yeah, so when you're stationary on the ground with your cams, there's a certain height that you can't reach, right? If you go too high with your cams, you'll never be able to place it, right?
Yeah.
But if you like, I'm stationary right now, I cannot place my cam on this lamppost that I had it placed on. But if I jump, it goes blue for a second and you can place it.
So like there's an angle at which it gets too sharp and you can't place it, basically.
Right.
Yeah. And once you reach that threshold, then you can't place it.
I've seen a couple people put cams up here because they can see a little bit on site and in the main. You could also see some heads if you're if like they're chilling in logs right
Oh,
here.
true. Okay.
So tripwires, you know, there's the default. You can put one in like a doorway, right? You could put, if you angle a tripwire on the corner of this side, you can get a good angle, right? But the only issue with that trip in particular is they could just push into logs and not hit that trip at all.
Okay.
Right? So that's really good if you know the team is just going to push into logs. That trip right there, it'll cover, you
That's
know,
really
the
cool.
push on the lane and
Yeah.
the button.
Yeah, this one is good because I think that at the point at which you're pushed out this way, you're already so exposed that you kind of have to make a really quick decision as to whether or not you're going to shoot it out or back off. But at this
Right.
point, it's really difficult to back off because you have no cover.
Exactly. And this is one of those where the feet level, they're not gonna worry about trying to jump over it, right?
Yeah, because they're in an
there's so
aggressive
many angles.
posture.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're not going to be worried about the tripwire. They're going to be worried about someone swinging them.
exactly. Plus, usually on default like attacks for B site, they're gonna push lane or they're gonna push the button to close the door,
Yeah.
right? Like I said, there's some that'll push to logs and watch for people pushing out of market, but generally people are gonna push this button to close the door.
Okay.
Like you could put one anywhere down lane if you want, right? If they're pushing heavy down lane, put another trip here. Fuck it, why not? Positioning, you could play backside and just play off those trips on lane. If they trip your tripwire going to button, you can wallbang through this thing. If I play Cypher on this side, I'm gonna play right here and watch the stairs. If my trips aren't covering, that push, and if they're pushing heavy lane, I could just swing and take those gunfights, right?
Okay.
You could also play like a little head glitch on these boxes right here, or you could play here. And this is a pretty difficult place to contest because you could swing on either side and delay them, right? They're going to be worried about that. You could also play on these stairs and watch for like straight pushes out of main. So that way if they're pushing here, you can take these gunfights. And if they trip your trips and they do a heavy push, you can stand right here, watch them, push out onto site. If you put one in that corner, it gives you remember that tripwire on Ascent A main?
Yes.
Where it's so this is pretty much the same principle. They have to either hit the trip or like I guess like right here maybe they can shoot it, but nobody's really gonna try to because of all these
it's past a door frame. So they have to like move forward a little bit more to deal with it.
Right. That's a really strong one for like a shower push in general.
Okay.
If you want one deeper in showers just for like info purposes, like anywhere on this wall is fine.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. I think I've done this like just kind of haphazardly a couple times already.
Yeah, I saw you put the one there before, and I actually liked when you did it, especially when you put two in there because like in theory, if they shoot one trip in there, they're not going to expect a second one, For short, you could put one to where it hits this little electrical box right here. And although they can shoot this side, it's still like a decent one to actually put.
Okay. As
well as pretty much anywhere along this little section of wall.
I've seen a video of somebody doing something like this, where it's kind of put on the hinge, I guess.
Mm-hmm. A pro match a while back. I saw this trip.
Okay.
Let's see. Hold on. Let me make sure. Put it right there. It covers this section of stairs so that when they push sight, like there. And if you do that trip, you can play like right here and like put a cage there, and swing on anybody who hits that trip. Right.
Okay.
And just for like pushing, like if somebody's pushing, you can just like put one right here and just sort of like when you get this, or actually you can sit in U-Haul, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when they swing, oh my bad,
you good?
You hit that pop this cage, shoot whoever's hit that trip on stairs, and then let them push you in U-Haul, and pretty much like as Cypher, if you're gonna play off your trips on short, you want to be playing U-Haul. If they're hard pushing you U-Haul and you don't feel like you can take it, just go ahead and fall out. Okay. You can play like back here and watch like a shower push at this angle. Pretty much play it by ear. Cams, it's pretty simple. It's not anything like really crazy.
Just want to get specific.
Yeah, you can put a cam like back here. I think that like that jump shot, the jump place. If you go to heaven, you can get one higher and get a better view right here and get a good view on site.
Yeah, I've done this one a couple times too.
Yeah. So most trips are gonna be like your trips are gonna be most useful on a short, just because this is a very common place to push.
Okay.
And when they get through that little gap, they can go like anywhere here. So this is where they're gonna try and get the most control.
Right.
If they go showered, they have to push out of a doorway, right? You can handle that easy. But yeah, that's essentially how you should play a site. This this little trip right here, I actually really like it.
Yeah, this one seems good.
And like I said earlier, cages used in conjunction with your trips.
Yeah.
I've placed a cage right here and like sprayed through the cage and got through people. So as long as you know where to pre-fire, it's another thing you need to learn like overall in the game. Just angles that you could pre-fire to get kills where they're gonna hold. You can do that with his cages. Like if you know what you're doing, you can do it through his cages. B side is usually where I play if I play Cypher on bind, right?
Okay.
So tripwires, there's this one right here.
Yo-yo.
You can place like on the sand. Yeah, the yo-yo one right there. It goes up.
Oh, that's how it works. Because I was trying to get it in the window frame. Okay.
Yeah, no, you want to get it like on this. There's an angle on the sand that goes through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's really good. Okay.
If you aim the center of it, right there.
Wait, let me. There. How the?
This is one of those where they're not gonna like consciously jump over it. They're gonna W key and I usually do this one for a solid few rounds until they start to like catch on to it. Okay. Same with this one. I usually do this one maybe 2 rounds at the start.
Yeah, these don't seem like super defaults, but you can catch people off guard with them for sure.
So when these start to falter, the default ones in the archways, just to slow down and get info. I also like to throw a cage, like stand right here and sort of hit that back wall.
Okay.
Because it'll sort of bounce to the center.
Yeah,
and it'll cover that whole thing. So yeah, when those trips start to falter, you have that default one on the arches. You can sometimes place one on the window here, and you could do like a deep one right here just for info.
Okay. It looks like a rave with like the multicolored lights.
I also like, depending on where I'm actually holding, like there's a few different positions you could play at on B. I don't typically like playing back sight because they could just nade it out. And then you're just like left with no HP, or you're forced to take a gunfight that you don't want to take.
Yeah,
they could do the same with cubby, but usually raises are gonna nade like backside. So you can play like right here and sort of swing on whatever trips are in long. You could play in tube and like have a trip right here, and just holding the entrances of the site, so that when they
my bad.
So that when they hit, you could just wall bang.
Yeah.
So in tube is a pretty decent position. I also like to hold elbow, right? Place one right there, because they'll usually either wall it off or smoke it. If they wall it, you don't want to play. Like if they have sage and they constantly wall elbow, you don't want to play here, right? Because you're just useless, right? They'll hit that trip and then boom. Oh, that was complete accident.
That was gonna happen at some point.
Yeah.
All right.
So, as I mentioned, you put anyone like along this wall. You could also put one on this corner, and it sort of does like an angled one. And it covers like a little bit of a wider area, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes you can maybe place one like right here to cover like crosses over the middle of the site. Yeah, B site you can honestly get really creative.
Yeah, it seems like there's a lot of
yeah. This is why I think Cypher is strongest on B site.
Oh wait.
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
There we go. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one for early info down long. Whenever I play just for like very quick setups, I put one like up there, because you can see like crosses on long. You can also see into hookah and get like maximum info. They'll probably shoot the cam. Yeah. But like you have the info, so what's the point in really keeping it here?
Right.
You can also.
I've done this one before. Yeah.
Yeah. Crosses into hookah, and if they push garden, it's a good one. If you want more of a retake cam, you want one just like pre-placed for a retake or whatever,
this
put
is
one
smart.
up there.
Okay.
And yeah, pretty much it's all about like changing up where you're playing, your positioning, and changing up where you put your trips. If you keep them guessing like where you're gonna put your trips on B site, they're gonna be hesitant to even push B site, right?
Cool.
So at that point, you're just hoping your team can hold A, and you don't have to play retake the entire game. And like I mentioned earlier, since you're playing a sentinel, you want to anchor at all times. So unless like 2 or 3 of your teammates just get evaporated on A, you want to stay here.
Okay.
Until either they plant or your team just gets decimated.
Yeah.
At that point, you want to play with the rest of your like alive teammates.
So if your randoms yell at you for not rotating immediately, tell them to shut up.
Right.
Chat.